What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about the 2-hour episode of Survivor Season 38, Extinction Island.
Edge of
Edge of
Extinction.
Extinction. I was like, that doesn't sound right. So my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa, and I know the title of this season because I
Yikes.
have to title every YouTube video with it. Yeah. I do think that Edge of Extinction was. They even said the season title in this episode. So shame on you, Rachel. Shame on you.
Yeah, except when David who said it, he was saying
Mhm.
like, "Oh, we're being pushed to the edge of extinction." Little do they know next week with the merge what the edge of extinction actually entails. So I am very, very excited. I think this 2-hour episode, it was pretty dang good. I thought it was entertaining for the entire 2 hours. Sometimes with longer episodes, it could get boring in the middle, but I was excited to watch the entire time.
Yeah, and I think the fact that like someone that we both like went out in the first hour really like prepped the second hour to be like better, I think, because we were like, oh, what's gonna happen now? So yeah, I was really excited to watch all 2 hours of this, and I actually watched it today because I've been in Canada. And they didn't show Survivor where I was in Canada, but also I was in the car. So, but yeah, I watched the episode today, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. Everything cool is happening. I was really happy that I wasn't spoiled because I was like, this would be like less cool if I had been spoiled about who was going home. So.
That's what I was thinking. I was wondering how you weren't spoiled because I'm always afraid to go on like Instagram between the East Coast airing and then the West Coast airing because they always do like the person on the Survivor Instagram is live streaming or like people on Twitter will talk. So I'm like, I just have to avoid all social media. Facebook is also a no go during like the time difference. I'm like, it's so stressful.
Yeah, I think it's also like it's stressful because even if you're like purposefully avoiding those things, sometimes people still like tell you things because they assume that you've watched.
Yeah, so this a good episode, two back to back instead of like 1 2 hour episodes. The first episode, Aubry goes home. Second episode, we have this interesting double single tribal layout happening. But I think the whole theme this season with like the green tribe, which was the old blue tribe, they literally suck so bad. It was just so hard to watch them in the reward and immunity challenges this episode because like they lose the first reward challenge and then the second immunity challenge they're so behind, they couldn't even dive down and release the buoy kind of thing, and I'm like, this isn't even like funny. I don't even know, it was just hard to watch because they just suck so bad.
Yeah, and I think it's even harder because it's like when you look at them, they shouldn't suck. Like War Dog is a big muscly guy. Kelly isn't like bad, and neither is Lauren. Like if you had to ask me, I would say like the only person on their tribe who's like bad at physical challenges is David. But then you see like when they're doing the challenge, it seems like they're not doing that well, like any of them. And I'm like, come on, guys, please try. But
Yeah, I'm like, not like they're all bad mouthing the other people on their tribe. We see numerous confessionals this episode where like one person's like, "Oh, these other people don't do anything," and David's like, "Oh yeah, Kelly and Lauren don't do anything in the challenges," and then War Dog's like, "Yeah, David and Kelly suck in challenges. It's only me and you, Lauren," and like they're all just putting the blame on the challenge losses on each other, and it's like they keep shit talking each other for lack of better wording, and it's like, no way you're this bad at these challenges that you're literally so freaking far behind. I'm like, someone is rigging all of these and they're not airing those confessionals. It's like, how are you purposely losing this bad? There's no way it's not on
because
purpose.
they keep making the same mistake every time. Like they keep putting Kelly and David on the puzzle, despite the fact that Kelly and David have shown that they can't do the puzzles all that well. Like when they put Kelly and David on the puzzle again, I was like, oh my god. and they only barely won the puzzle. Like, ah.
Yeah, like we've mentioned in the previous podcast, like you see that Kelly and David are being put on the puzzle. Like the one you're talking about, the like triangular ball one, like it's because they were both cheating off of Joe's team again. Slide puzzle, that one was like, yeah, I don't even know. It's like, do you all just suck this bad, or is someone purposely like taking a little bit longer while swimming, or like purposely diving down and not getting the buoys, so then you keep losing? So you're like literally intentional Matt singing yourself, because honestly, with these four original blue tribe that are left, I think they can go really, really far. So they're probably not like broadcasting a strategy if they are purposely losing, but like I think Kelly, David, Wardog, and Lauren can go pretty far come the merge next week.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like even though they seem to like annoy each other a lot, like as far as like talking strategy or whatever, when it comes down to things, they all seem to like at least be willing to work together, which I think is more than a lot of the other tribes are willing to do. So, yeah, I do think that they can go far, and I'm really excited that they all made it to the merge, especially if they do continue to work as a unit. But I also don't think that's going to happen. So,
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting for those four, because like they were forced to work together because for some reason their tribe sucked, and like maybe it's because you had like Reem and Keith and stuff on your tribe, but like after you have Chris and Devins and stuff, I'm like, these people aren't not physically athletic. There's no reason you should keep losing this many in a row, kind of thing. I'm like, someone is purposely rigging all of these challenges to make your tribe lose so you can vote out the fat dead weight in tribal council. And then that's why Kelly and David are making the merge and Aubry isn't, because Kelly and David voted out everyone who wanted to take them out, and now they are making the merge.
yeah, I think it's interesting because, like, I don't think Aubry was the first player, like, returning player I would have expected to be voted out. But, like, when you look at the way she played this season, it kind of makes sense. I also feel really bad for Aubry since she got voted out with both an extra vote and an idol. And I was like,
Yeah, which is interesting because like that's the first tribal council her yellow tribe people and Wendy went to this last episode. So she's voted out at the first tribal council she attends this season. It will be interesting, like the Kelly David strategy of let's go to every tribal council, vote out the people that want to vote us out, get rid of the dead weight, and then we can clean, smooth sailing. Let's go into the merge, versus like the Joe strategy of always keep winning, never go and risk being voted out by going to a tribal council. So I definitely see like both ends of the story. Like if you know you're not, like you have the numbers, maybe, lose one here or there, and then you can get your numbers down so people don't think of you as a threatening, like, oh, 8-person yellow tribe are going into the merge next week. Like, are they still close? Versus 4 blue tribe are going into the merge. It's a lot less threatening, I feel like.
yeah, and I think it'll be interesting because, like, Kama Strong, like, isn't a thing anymore, kind of. Not really. So I think it'll be interesting to see what the old Kama tribe / old yellow tribe like does now. So that'll be interesting, especially because they talked a lot in this episode, I think, about how Joe is a big threat because of like challenges post merge. And so that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, like before this season even started, we were saying that Joe is probably not going to go to a tribal council until the merge. We see this week that Joe is not going to go to a tribal council until the merge again, similar to Second Chance when his tribe somehow always won and he never went to the merge. And like honestly, before the season, I was really like, Joe is the same old, same old. We know like he's probably going to win a lot because he's just that good somehow at challenges. But like actually thinking about it quantitatively, like never losing a challenge is very, very impressive to like carry, but like, carry your tribe to the merge without ever having gone to a tribal council, especially as Joe is a returning player. Like, he's not missing out on much. It actually helps him to keep winning because he doesn't have the risk of getting voted out like Aubry. And he puts all of his other comma players at a disadvantage because they've never been to a tribal until the merge, and they don't really know like what the whole strategy thing is because they've just had, like Kelly said this episode, the free vacation for 2 weeks because they haven't gone to a tribal yet. So I think, Joe, honestly, keep on winning, and like it's an interesting strategy.
Yeah, I think it's also like a strategy based on like your type of play, which I guess is kind of what you said, where it's like the people like Aubry who feel like they play better from the bottom are better off going to more tribals, whereas the people like Joe, who it's like the first tribal is normally when they get like knocked out. So
Yes, because it is also interesting. We see people this episode, they're like, ugh, Joe's so annoying. Like, why does he keep winning? He's the golden boy. Like, they're going to want to see Joe lose kind of mentality because you sort of like, if someone is always getting what they want in life, you sort of want them to feel how you're feeling, sort of kick them while they're down. So I think Joe going into the merge will probably have a pretty large target on his back just with the newbies at least, because they're like, I'd be sort of angry. Like, you see the one tribe that is always happy, they never lose kind of thing. And then like you want to knock them down a little bit.
yeah, I think that it's like when you are built up so much because you've never been lost, it's just that much more satisfying to knock you off your pedestal. Like I think when all of the tribes have like won and lost about equally, it's easier because it's like you don't feel like, oh, this tribe has everything. You're just like, oh yeah, this tribe has kind of had some bad luck like me, but we're gonna win, blah blah blah. So I think also the fact that they're kind of obnoxious about the whole comma strong thing might play into it, especially if they continue after every challenge doing the whole like hand in the middle, come strong. Like,
Yeah, so I think for Joe, like, he can probably get pretty far in the game. He just literally needs to win out on every single immunity challenge. He's won a lot of individual immunities in the past, so I don't really put it past him to not win maybe the first or like multiple individual immunities in a row. I think it will be interesting to see Joe play the individual portion of the game this season. And it's like, now I'm a Joe fan. Like, preseason, I was like, oh, why are you bringing Joe back? I think it's going to be really interesting to see how he plays because he is the golden boy. You cannot shake that. And I think Joe can make it pretty far if he wins out on immunity challenges, maybe finds an idol for the time that he loses the challenge, because that's probably inevitable. But I think the Extinction Island is sort of rigged to be very well in his favor. I think having the Extinction Island be revealed next episode, like, oh, once you're voted out, you're really not voted out, might scare people to not wanting to vote Joe out, because then you're like, okay, Joe, you get a free vacation, which might be harder than the actual game, but you don't have to really strategize at Extinction Island. You can go hang out for like 20 more days until day 39, whatever. And then you can just play the challenge and win your way back in. Maybe that'll be explained next week on how this actually works with the Edge of Extinction. But I think I would sort of be scared to vote him out because he's going to stick there till day whatever that they play the second game to get back into the game. And then you're like, Joe's going to make it back in at Final Four and then beat us at Fire or whatever because of the Edge of Extinction.
I think you could also say though, let's send Joe to Edge of Extinction now and like wait for the like mental bit of it to like kick in and have it be like, oh, Joe's been alone for 3 days, or Joe's only eaten rice for the past like 15 days, so he's not going to do well in the challenge. And it's like, the longer you have to subsist on only rice, the like worse it is for your like bodily health or whatever. And so then Joe would be like the weakest going into the challenge, supposedly. So
yeah, I guess it'll be interesting if like they tell everyone what really the Edge of Extinction is. Probably the person that wins back in would tell their like teammates what it's like. But honestly, if you were the person that won your way back in, you wouldn't want to tell the rest of the tribes people like what edge of extinction is, because then you have a leg up. You know what happens when someone gets voted out. Maybe they think, oh, you're in a hotel for the past 12 days or whatever that they're hanging out there, and you get the free food, and it's not like a torture camp where they're bored all day and sleeping on like a piece of shipwreck. So like I feel like you'd want to keep that piece secret, so then you can use it to your advantage. So when you do vote people out, then you know like, okay, this is the turmoil that you're going through. Reem's still there. Like, you know what it's like to hang out with her on the edge of extinction. You can use it to your advantage rather than telling everyone what you went through on the island.
Reem's still there. I love that, like, your idea of mental distress is Reem still being there.
Yo, when we talk about Extinction Island, the whole Reem versus Chris fight literally makes no sense.
I really didn't understand. Like, yeah. But I think that also if you're the person who gets voted back in, you might want to come clean about Extinction Island so that people don't think that you're holding something over them. Because it's like, I think that if you were like, oh yeah, for the past however many days, I've had to like sit and eat only rice, and I've had to like spend time with Reem, and we had no shelter, and it was awful, blah 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 blah, then people will like feel a lot more respectful of you than if you're like, yeah, I was in a swanky hotel and I haven't been hungry these past however many days. Because it's like, if you think that someone else has been in a hotel or whatever, they've been getting you like cheeseburgers or whatever, I don't think you're going to feel very kindly towards them, especially if they start winning challenges, because then you're just going to be like, oh, this is rigged.
No, yeah, I think definitely telling the half truth, like, okay, you're starving, it's really boring, you don't have any fun challenges to play, but you would probably want to keep the whole I'm chewing now. You probably want to keep the whole like advantage thing secret. So it's like, okay, they don't know that they can potentially get advantages, vote steals, whatever, give votes to people on the island. That part you'd probably want to keep a secret.
Yeah, I think you'd probably want to mention that there was like bad stuff, but definitely not the good stuff, especially because the only recipient of something from Extinction Island is now also on Extinction Island. Because Rick gave Aubrey the extra vote. Aubrey then got voted out, and so no one else knows that there are people on Extinction Island who can like give you stuff in the game. So.
Yeah, and even with the extra vote, like it just says someone random gave it to you. So maybe if you're thinking outside the box, you could be like, oh, there's an exile island kind of thing. There's a I don't know, like exile twist or whatever, like maybe, but considering Survivor like hasn't really had these like ratchet ass island play a game to get back into the game kind of things, I wouldn't necessarily like first jump to conclusions like, oh, people we're voting out are not actually voted out and they're sending me gifts in the secret tree mail. Like, I think I don't know. It really depends how much you're thinking outside the box, because considering that Survivor hasn't done seasons like this in the past, and it's typically not as well received after Rob winning his season, I wouldn't jump straight to like, this is an Extinction Island kind of thing.
I think it's also like it changes the way you vote people out when you know that there's Extinction Island, because when you think about it, like Reem, for example, was acting super bitter towards everyone um who like voted her out at Extinction Island, so you are probably like more apt to be like kinder in your vote outs. So
Yeah. Yeah, because then I guess you're stuck with them in a game setting still, versus normal season of Survivor, you vote someone out and then you go to Ponderosa or pre-jury trip, whatever, and then you're like, oh, no hard feelings. They might still be bitter if they're one of those people, but for the most part, it's like, okay, the game's over kind of thing. Like, let's move on. But yeah, going back to Joe also, I thought it was interesting how he goes up to Julia and is like, Julia, I'm a threat. You're a super big threat too. You know, like they're going to come after both of us. So you can't vote me out kind of thing. I thought was really interesting. It was also interesting to see people like Ron, who was seemingly very adamant about voting Joe out, sort of change his mind and be like, we need Joe if we want to keep winning and getting fish and all of that jazz. So I thought that was interesting. I think for the Julia thing, it seems sort of like backwards. Like you have to think that you're a good player or like athletic, strategically strong for someone telling you that like, oh, I'm a big threat, you're a big threat. We need to work together to have that saying work in general.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how many people we've seen this episode that we didn't see before. Like, I'm pretty sure this is Julia's first confessional,
Yeah.
or at least like the first confessional worth remembering. We also saw a lot more of Ron, so I'm wondering whether that's setting them up being big players in the merge, or if they're just gonna go home real soon.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, didn't remember half these people because all we've been seeing is from Blue Tribe. So I honestly feel like the returning players are set up pretty decently come the merge next week. I think, at the end of this podcast, we'll talk about who we think will win back in Extinction Island. I'm going to say Rick right now, spoiler, but if Rick wins his way back in, you can have a Joe, Aurora, Kelly, David, Lauren, War Dog, and Rick. That's 7 people, at least for the first vote out of 13 people that'll be in the merge. You only need 7, and even if like Rick is like super mad at Lauren, War Dog, and Kelly for voting him out, like you want to be on the right side of the numbers at the merge. Like statistically proven, if you're not on the right side of the numbers, it's hard to win the game of Survivor at the merge. So I think in this situation, you might as well just make this 7 and have the numbers at the merge.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I'm not sure if the returning players will like reunite or whatever. I thought it was really, I don't want to say interesting again because I keep saying that word, but I thought it was really cool how David was like, at the beginning, I really wanted Wentworth out, but then Wentworth and David are like working together now. So I think it will be enlightening to see like how the numbers at the merge shake out, especially because I do think there's going to be a lot of people who are willing to flip on their like original tribe or their like new tribe. So
Right, because like there was really no tribe mixing. The only person who was mixed was Wendy, and she got voted out second episode. So like literally, we're going into the merge with 2 original tribes who don't know the people from the original blue tribe, besides the people that went to the second tribal council this episode. So I think it will be very interesting, and I think at least for the first vote, like returning players will have to work together. Joe will probably win immunity. You're not voting him out. And like to save yourself, you would need to just put your vote somewhere, even if you don't think it's not who you wanted to go first kind of thing. Like you just have to suck it up sometimes. And I think, Joe and Kelly played together their season. People say that Joe's the one that tipped Kelly off for the Andrew Savage vote. So that's how she played it correctly. I think they can be close or reunite come the merge and be friendly again. So I think we could see, at least one vote. They have to work together.
yeah, I want them all to work together, but I also think that they're going to get really like jumpy about all working together, especially now that Aubry has been voted out, because it's like easing the path. Like it's no longer like, I don't think that any of them really, like any of the returning player or new players, sorry, really had a qualm with voting out the returning players, but now it's really like they know that they can get voted out.
Yeah, I think with Blue Tribe, the original 4, they probably won't have targets on their back come the merge because I really don't see all the old yellow tribe coming together and forming their 8 or 9 or however. Yeah, 8 because Aubry's voted out people versus 4 or 5. whoever comes back. So there's 12 before the person comes back from Extinction Island. So we'll say 12. So I really don't think it'll be an 8-4 split next week. I do think that it's because the Yellow Tribe hasn't gone to tribal literally until the merge for some of these people, that they will have some infighting, or they're like definitely way further behind on the strategic gameplay than the people on the Blue Tribe who have had to be playing since day one. So like War Dog and Lauren have a lot more strategy skills in their brain than like Julie and Julia and Ron, who we've like literally seen nothing of.
I think it's also you see like who has more advantages because Aubrey's idol went out with her. The extra vote went out with Aubrey, which means that the only idols, if I'm remembering correctly, are Kelly and Lawrence. So even if
Yeah.
the 8 people from Comma do stay together, it's like if they can at least make it 2 votes and get the numbers more even if they know who to play the idols on correctly. So
No, exactly. Like it's a 50% chance right now if you play both of them at the same time. Some people are saying like, "Oh, it's like a Samoa kind of thing where these 4 people are down in numbers, but somehow they will turn it around and make it pretty far into the game." And if Joe and Aurora do want to stay, like the whole comma strong facade first vote of the merge, maybe Joe will tip Kelly off again. They can play an amazing idol play correctly and then actually vote out someone from comma, which I think would be very interesting to see as well.
yeah, I think it'll be. I really am hoping that there will be some like really good backstabbing this season, just because I thought, was it last season that 1-1? Wow, I thought that was just like boring. Like you need a good backstabber too, and so I'm hoping the fact that someone was already backstabbed like bodes well for us as far as like backstabbing and sliminess.
You thought
So
last season was boring?
was that the one where 1-1? I don't even remember.
Oh no, that's like 2 ago. Ghost Island. I'm like, I thought last season was good.
They all like blur together in my head. But
Yeah.
that the season where Wendell won was super boring just because it was like after the merge you kept waiting for Wendell and Dom to backstab each other, but they never did. So
Yeah, so Aubrey's voted out first episode. Honestly, I am like wowed. I don't know. I feel like Aubrey's vote out this episode is very overshadowed by the fact that it was the double episode. I think standalone Aubrey would get a lot more like talk about her on like podcasts, exit interviews, stuff like that. But now because it is the double vote, that she's gonna get a lot less attention now than it would have been with a standalone episode. What I am wondering is like, was Victoria just that convincing when Victoria was talking to Aubrey? Or did Aubrey just really overlook her teammates as like thinking that they're not playing the game kind of thing? So it's like, was Victoria convincing, or was it Aubrey's oversight that she thought no one was playing the game?
I think it could also be a meet in the middle kind of
Yeah.
situation, just because I think that Aubrey definitely did overlook some things, but also we've seen that Victoria's been like playing. And I also wonder if like Aubrey's like vote out being kind of overshadowed by the double episode is like indicative of something. Like if it means that she's going to be the one that wins the Extinction Island thing, and so it's like we're not going to spend that much time on her vote out because she's just going to come right back. So
You think? I think, yeah, Extinction Island, I would put money on either Aubrey or Rick coming back. Maybe Wendy, but I don't think it's like a swimming challenge. Probably like a standing challenge with sticks or whatever. So I would say maybe Rick or Aubrey, but I would put more money on Rick because Rick and Wendy were in the preview that was shown last season. I always keep mentioning it. And now both of them are voted out pre-merge. So I'm really confused by that. Like, why are they in the preview if they're both going home pre-merge? Like, doesn't make sense. So I think Rick is coming back.
yeah, I think it's also interesting just because it seems like Rick and Wendy are the well, I guess, and also Lauren. Rick, Wendy, and Lauren are the three like non-returning players that have gotten any semblance of like actual screen time because I feel like so much
And
of
War
it.
Dog.
Oh
But
yeah, and
War
War
Dog is
Dog.
like,
I also can't see War Dog getting that much further just because like basically everyone who interacts with him is annoyed by him. Like I
I'm
think
annoyed watching him on TV and seeing his Twitter interactions. Like, why are you blocking everyone from previous seasons of the show? Like, stop.
yeah, I think it's like yeah. Like I think that one of them, if a new player is gonna win, it's gonna be one of those three. So
Yeah, I think it's a weird edit for Aubry. Like, she had the Dodo edit from like the second episode where we see that she's edited together to say the same thing to every single person. And then she gets finding the idol with the whole flashback moment, crying like, this is something that I haven't done yet besides win. And then she's literally voted out with an idol and an extra vote in her pocket. And everyone was like, oh, are they still usable because she's voted out and on the island? They're null now. And I don't know. I thought it was funny when she said, like, oh, haha, I'm voted out in JT style fashion. And we got a lot of throwback names this episode with Kelly mentioning Tony also.
and Sierra Dawn Thomas was mentioned in the immunity challenge because someone was like, Joe, do it for Sierra. So yeah, there was a lot of flashbacks. I thought it was interesting too because the double tribal council, nothing like horribly embarrassing a la Malcolm happened. So
yeah.
yeah. So Aubrey's idol and extra vault are null now. Like she can't take them back into the game with her.
Right? She's voted out. That's like they're voided.
That's so lame. Like I think it would be like I guess I understand why, but I also think it would be cool to be able to come back into the game and already like have a little bit of padding. So
Yeah, I don't know. I feel bad for Aubry. Like she's getting voted out pre-merge in her first tribal council this episode this season. And but I was like, it was fun seeing everyone's reactions. Everyone was so shook by it. And I think honestly, for this tribe, it was the best move that they could have done. Because even though like Aubry really doesn't have any tight alliances right now, and like maybe Victoria and her could be a tight alliance, like once the merge happens, you know, if the four returners are there, you can't help but think that they could all link up kind of thing. They all know who each other are. They've probably hung out in real life or like are friends in real life. It's just too much. And especially with four of them on a 12, 13 person merge, if they don't know that the Extinction Island thing is happening, so we'll say 12 they'll think is happening. 4 out of 12 is already 1/3 of the votes. Like, I think it's smart for Victoria, Eric, and Gavin to vote Aubry out.
yeah, I think it's smart, but it also hurts my heart just because I love Aubry. I've loved her since Co-Wrong, and we all know how I feel about that. But yeah.
Yeah, so the second episode we have the double or not double tribal, two tribals and one tribal. And I
Merged
was like,
tribal.
yeah, like, is this game changers? I think it was interesting because it's a 4-4 split. If Joe's tribe went to tribal with a 5-4 and it was the old Kama tribe going, then Wendy's probably going home also in that scenario. I think another interesting scenario would be the Green tribe and Joe's tribe going to tribal, because then at least when it's a 5-4 and there is no scapegoat like Wendy to vote out, then you could have the interesting idol plays there. But this 4-4, everyone is so like, oh, haha, like we don't want to go to rocks. Like, who are we going to go to rocks for? Yeah, I don't know. I just feel bad for Wendy because like literally she's going home.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that it was the 4-4 that happened, just because I think it would be kind of upsetting to see just one tribe getting steamrollered. But yeah, poor Wendy. Like, I thought it was really cool how when Wendy was voted out, everyone was like so happy for her and they were still like celebrating, like, man, there's no one like Wendy. Like, no one voted Wendy out because they were like, and so I think it would be interesting if Wendy was the one who came back into the game, just because like her tribals seem to have so few hard feelings about it. Like when she was leaving, she wasn't like, "Darn, I'm gone." She's just like, "Cheeseburger, yay!" So
Yeah, like she's so cute and happy and just like super positive, and like the whole hug with Jeff and like asking him to call her Big Wendy. I'm like, so cute. Feels bad, but I think the plan to vote her makes sense. I was sort of confused when they brought up the plan. I'm like, okay, you're literally voting the one person who was on your tribe from the beginning in Wendy to get voted out of the game. Like, isn't that a big stab in the back if you're like, oh, F you, Wendy, so much, even though we spent the whole first 1/3 of the game together, we're going to put your name out on this conjoined tribal council. I was like, that must suck and hurt. But then it's like thinking about it, if you were to get the old yellow tribe to flip, they wouldn't flip on like Gavin, Eric, or Victoria. They probably most likely flip on Wendy to not go to Rocks because they just met Wendy a few days ago.
Wendy or Joe, and then it's like Kelly and David probably don't want to be voting out the other returning player. So,
Yeah, so I think it's interesting because I think it comes down like when you say you're going or like you have the potential to go to Rocks, but like, do you really want to go to Rocks for certain people? We see Lauren say like she's not going to go to Rocks for War Dog. It's like, like, I don't know, it's right before the merge. You're probably thinking that the merge is happening quite shortly. It's like, are you going to put your game at risk to go to Rocks before the merge even happens? I think Rocks is for a point in the game where like it is a legitimate final 8 and they're 4-4 deadlocked, and whoever wins out on Rocks or idles the other person out gets a 4-3 majority, and then you can just pagong the other team. Then it makes sense to go to Rocks. But like doing it now this early in the game, it really isn't going to screw your game up. Like there's no point in not flipping, I think, this early.
Yeah, I think it's early enough that if you flip now, you can still become a part of the like team. I don't like saying team, alliance, that's the word. The alliance that you then flip to. So I think that's interesting, and I think that the merge will definitely start to solidify a lot of the lines that people are drawing. So I do hope that some of the comma people don't just decide to say 8 strong. So
Yeah, I think smart thing, Joe and Aurora will jump ship and go with the blue tribe. And I think, I don't know, the whole flipping thing too, it is really risky because if one person flips, sure, you get the majority with the other tribe. But then if you have 2 weak people and 2 weak people flip, then you just cancel out and then it's a tie again and then you're going to Rocks. So it's a lot of like what ifs, game theory. Like, do you do it or do you think someone else will do it so you don't flip kind of thing? So then you don't accidentally cancel each other's votes and then it's still a 4-4 tie and then you're going to Rocks, even though someone did flip.
yeah. So I thought it was interesting how they were like having conversations, and it's like, I've never met you before, but I'm trying to convince you to flip now. Like, yikes.
Yeah, and I also think the whole conversation thing, it really only works when the cameras can actually hear what you're saying, so we can get some sliver of subtitle captions on there, because literally when they're actually whispering and you cannot hear anything, you're just watching people on your TV whisper to each other, and there's no fun to that. It's like, we want to hear what you're saying. Like, don't let them, Jeff, don't let them go whisper with each other unless you can subtitle mic them.
Yeah, just because then it's also like, as a viewer, you want to be like, as a viewer, you want to be shocked but not blindsided by who goes home, I guess. Like, you want to know all of the names in the arena, or like, you want to know the general direction people are tipping. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was interesting. It was like sort of edge of your seat, like, oh, will they go to Rocks? Will they not go to Rocks? Will an idol be played? I don't know. I'm sort of confused why both people on the blue tribe that were in the preview are voted out pre-merge. I think that's pretty interesting. We'll be intrigued to see if one of them do make it back into the game, and that's why they were in the premiere preview episode thing. And yeah, no idols were played. So like you said earlier, Lauren and Kelly are the only two people going into the merge with an idol, and I think that looks pretty well for them. Even though Lauren said she wasn't going to tell Kelly she had the idol, she did.
I think it's good though because she didn't just randomly tell Kelly about the idol. Like Kelly told her and then she returned that favor. Because I think it would
Yeah.
have been really awkward if Kelly told her and then she continued not telling Kelly. Because then it's like, it's one thing to like omit something from your alliance member, and it's another thing entirely to like have the perfect opportunity and still not tell them. And I think especially because Kelly's kind of been like pushing War Dog away from voting out Lauren recently, like it would be remiss for Lauren not to tell Kelly.
No, yeah, exactly. And this situation makes a lot of sense because it like happens naturally. Kelly won't think like, "Oh, you B word, why did you hold this information from me? You're untrustworthy." Now it's like, "Oh, cool. Like we're super powerful and we have two idols."
Yeah, and so I really am looking forward to like seeing how they like get through the merge. Just because like I really enjoyed watching Kelly post merge in Second Chances, and I think I'm really gonna enjoy watching her post merge in Edge of Extinction. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So, speaking of the Extinction Island, it was interesting, I think, this episode. They're getting like fun clues to do scavenger hunts now instead of just go find rice at the top of Mount Everest. So I think that part was interesting. It really brought what Extinction Island is back into reality for me because I'm like, okay, this is sort of boring. Like they just hang out all the time and we see people bicker with each other and it's sort of annoying to watch. But then when you bring the survivor game aspect back into Extinction Island, it became interesting. So Keith running around crazy, literally like backstabs the rest of the people out there because they made the pact to go do and look themselves. But then I'm like, it really makes sense for Keith or anyone to go run off and try to find it first because they don't know what Extinction Island is. You know, you can't be all kumbaya, but like technically you're still in the game, so you have to be cutthroat. So appreciate that for Keith. It was just funny that like he's the one to do it.
Yeah, I think if you told me that like, oh, one of these people is gonna like go off and stab everyone in the back, I wouldn't pick Keith. I thought it was like, I don't know the word for my feeling, but when Keith got the advantage that Reem like technically found, I was like, yikes.
I'm like like it doesn't. Okay, so Reem points it out. Keith is the first person to touch it. Reem becomes pissed off. Chris just like briefly mentions like, oh, so like technically you found it first and you gave it to him because you pointed it out and he picked it up. And then like she goes ballistic and I'm like, what the heck? Like this is so annoying to watch. Like I don't know, lack of food, lack of sleep, but I think it was blown way out of proportion. I really don't think Chris meant it in like an antagonizing way. Like, oh, you're an idiot. You gave the thing to Keith. But like, oh, like a point of fact statement, like, oh, you gave the thing to Keith then? Question mark. And then she just went off. I'm like, oh my God.
I think also it might foreshadow like one of them quitting or like Reem quitting if she doesn't win the Extinction Island return thing.
Reem is not winning. Keith is also not winning the Extinction Island. I think we have like 2 or 3 contenders.
Yeah, but so just because Reem seems to like really be losing it, so
Yeah, I think with this too, Keith gets the advantage to like curse someone in probably what's going to be the Extinction Island game to win your way back into the real game. And he's going to give it to Chris because Keith hates Chris now, I guess, from voting him out and then Chris grabbing the practice sticks before him when Keith ran off the first time. And like, so I think Chris getting cursed will put him out of contention for getting back in the game. And I really think there's 6 people there. Aubry, Devins, and Wendy will be the 3 to actually be semi-athletically prowess enough to win their way back in, which really sucks for Chris if this is like this is the challenge that, I mean, it's a challenge for everyone where they won't get back in because only one person technically is getting back in. But if the knots are his downfall and it's because of Keith, it's going to be a bummer.
I think it's also just like his thing said practice, but didn't like give any information about what he's supposed to be practicing. So I felt bad for him because it's like his advantage isn't actually that much of an advantage, I don't think. So.
Yeah, and it seemed like with those sticks, like you can't prevent anyone else from practicing with them unless you literally go off in the woods and practice and then hide the sticks every single time. At least with like Keith's advantage or Rick's advantage with the extra vote, like you send it to someone and they get cursed or helped by it in Aubry's scenario. And it's like, I don't know. I also think Rick giving the advantage to Aubry of all people on the losing tribe was very interesting. Rick is definitely up the butt of the returning players, like him and David, and then he gave it to Aubry specifically to like maybe try to forge some bonds with the returning player in Aubry or like that kind of thing. So I think he's trying to get hella in with the returning players.
Yeah. So I wonder if on Extinction Island, Rick told Aubry that he was the one to give her the extra vote. But I don't know.
Yeah, but then I guess it's also interesting because like they don't know what Extinction Island entails. Like they walk in next episode like we saw in the preview. Everyone has the shooketh faces ever. I cannot wait to watch people's reactions when they all start walking out and are like, F you all, haha, we're back. I think that'll be really fun to watch. But I also think if you're Rick on the island, you don't know if like the people on Extinction Island are your peers or if they're still your foes. So I'd maybe be careful, I guess, in saying it. Because you really don't know like what information you are going to need or are using if like the challenges that come up. You don't even know how you're getting back into the game. You just know you're still in the game kind of thing. Like they don't know a challenge. Only one person comes back, maybe, you know?
Yeah, and they may not even know that they get to like come back to Extinction Island after the challenge. Like they might think that after that one challenge they're done and they all go to Ponderosa or the pre-jury, whatever.
Yeah,
So,
like the exile, whatever.
Yeah, I think that if neither Rick nor Aubry gets back in the game and it's evident that they'll have another chance to get back in the game, maybe Rick will mention something to Aubry. Or like Rick tells Aubry because he's going back in the game and it's like he wants her jury vote. So,
yeah, or like Aubry, go find the other advantages with the maps that are coming up and like send me some goodies if like, you know, you find one kind of thing. Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Repay the favor, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I put my money on Chris as my first pick, Aubry as my second, Wendy as my third for my draft pick for who's going to win the Extinction Island battle and get back into the game next week. I also think Rick getting back in is the best case scenario for the old blue tribe and Joe. If Rick doesn't hate everyone from his old tribe who voted him out.
Yeah, I think it's really going to depend on like how bitter people are, just because that can change everything.
And it's like the Rick and David bromance has not run its course yet, so Rick needs to come back so we can see them be friends again.
Yeah, I think I would be excited to see Rick back. I'd be excited to see Aubry back. I think Reem and Keith, they can just keep doing their exile shenanigans.
They're like -10% winning their way back in, unless it's like a who can talk more challenge.
Who can complain the most challenge.
Who can say dude the most challenge or man?
Yeah, and I'm like unsure about Chris and Wendy, like whether or not I'd want to see them back, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think like at least Wendy's good television. She's probably not winning the game, but she's good TV. Chris, athletic, attractive, probably not winning the game either. I think Rick making it back in, he actually has winner potential and he's interesting. So I think that would be best case scenario TV wise and winner wise. Like, no offense, but I guess we haven't really seen enough from Chris, but he just seems like plain.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that because like Edge of Extinction was kind of designed to like be good TV, it would be interesting if the challenge totally failed and brought back like the worst person as far as like TV wise. But I guess we'll have to see next week.
Yeah, because even if like Rick or Aubry make it back in, there are people who can play the game and not get voted out right again once the merge hits. Reem, if she somehow makes it back in for like God giving her some gift, like she'd probably still be the first person voted out at the merge. So I want to see someone last.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, getting voted out and then getting put back in only to immediately get voted out again is like, yikes. So.
Yeah. So I'm very, very, very excited to see the merge happen next week. Let us know what you all thought of this episode in the comments below. Like, did you enjoy seeing Aubry go? Were you sad? What about the second tribal council with the 2-1 vote out in a 2-tribe episode tribal council thing? Let us know who also you think will be the first person voted out come the merge. Who do you think will win their way back into the game at the edge of extinction battle? Let us know. And I'm so excited.
Yeah, we'll find out all of this and more next week. So we'll see you guys then.
Bye.
Bye.